No one expected this evening to redefine everything. Not the producers arranging the set, not the camera crew meticulously testing the lights, and certainly not the league executives half watching from their phones, convinced it was merely another routine broadcast, another crossover moment, another small and forgettable feature. The rookie would be brought on, allowed to speak, smile for the camera, and then move on. Safe, simple, unremarkable. Yet by the end of those 2 intense, unpredictable hours, something had undeniably shifted. A quiet, creeping sense of unease settled over everyone, the kind of feeling that only becomes apparent once it is far too late to reverse. Phones buzzed relentlessly, group chats erupted, and executives whispered as though a secret had just detonated across the league. Somehow, completely unplanned, Caitlin Clark no longer appeared like a mere guest. She radiated as the main event, the center of attention, and that was precisely what terrified them. Leagues thrive on control of the schedule, control of the spotlight, control over who ascends to fame. But what happens when someone bypasses the system entirely, when a player refuses to wait her turn and blazes her own path? That is exactly where this story begins, and after that night, nothing would ever feel the same again. From the very first moment, the broadcast felt ordinary. Highlights rolled, crowd noise hummed, analysts chuckled, until the host casually announced her arrival, Caitlin Clark. There was no build-up, no dramatic music, no exaggerated hype, just a single, simple sentence. Yet the instant the camera cut to her, everything shifted. The energy in the room tightened, as if everyone suddenly sat straighter, hearts skipping beats. She didn't seem nervous. She didn't seem overwhelmed. She didn't appear like someone merely grateful to be there. Instead, she radiated an almost unnatural calm, too composed for a rookie, too measured for someone supposedly new. It was strange because rookies are meant to smile too much, speak too fast, fumble their excitement, and over-explain. But she didn't. She leaned back confidently, breaking down plays with the precision, insight, and authority of a seasoned veteran already in full command of the game. Every movement, every word signaled mastery beyond her experience, leaving everyone watching in awe, and subtly shifting the balance of power in the room.
I think it was when Luka was back on the Mavericks, they in a way played, faster and more together, or the ball popped more. And I think that's what it was. The ball moved more without Luka out there. So Clark referencing Luka with some of the stuff around her and Stephanie White, and the butting heads narratives from last year will be amusing. But, again, Caitlin Clark just playing basketball isn't.
Before anyone even realized, she was calling out defensive mistakes before the replay could even show them, effortlessly correcting former NBA players on live television as if it were nothing at all. That was the moment viewers began paying attention, not because of hype, but because of undeniable authority. She sounded like the smartest person in the room, the one everyone unconsciously turned to, and that is dangerous. Authority isn't given, it is claimed, demanded, seized. Within minutes, social media erupted. Clips were shared relentlessly, people rewinding, analyzing, debating. How is she outperforming half of these seasoned analysts? How can she be this confident? Why does it feel as if she owns the entire broadcast? The conversation had shifted completely. The game was no longer the focus. It was all about her. Something subtle but seismic had occurred. What had started as a typical NBA segment with a guest had transformed into her platform, with everyone else merely filling space around her. That was the problem, because when the guest becomes the main attraction, control evaporates completely. Back in the Women's National Basketball Association offices, phones buzzed incessantly as staff messaged frantically. "Are you watching this? Since when is she on NBC? Who approved this?" Nobody had answers, because nobody expected it, nobody planned for it, and everyone assumed they had time to manage her exposure, protect the brand, and contain everything inside the league bubble. But NBC Sports didn't wait. They didn't ask permission. They simply called, signed, booked, and confirmed. And just like that, the largest stage in basketball media no longer belonged to the league. It belonged to her. Then arrived the moment no one could ignore. Live footage shifted to Madison Square Garden, the iconic arena alive with energy, bright lights, and the electric buzz of NBA night. But the crowd wasn't chanting for the home team, nor for the league's stars. They were chanting a single name: Caitlin, Caitlin, Caitlin. For a WNBA rookie, something completely unprecedented. This wasn't normal, this wasn't clever marketing, this was a full-scale takeover. And takeovers terrify the people in charge. When fans choose a player over the carefully crafted brand, the brand instantly loses influence, authority, and control. In that moment, the league realized just how little power it truly held.
Basketball in the women's game right now, or the game in general. So we said, let's have a bigger conversation. And it's just so crazy that it feels like every other sport will just come out and say what it is besides the WNBA. The NBA is not scared to acknowledge that there's no more iconic figure in basketball. Not just the women's game, but possibly the game in general than Caitlin Clark. But we would not hear that in the WNBA space. We wouldn't hear that from WNBA media, but the NBA media and the NBA and the league itself is not scared to say it. Like we've seen it when Caitlin does golf, and it just seems like every league but her own is not scared.
As the ratings reports started coming in, the numbers were impossible to ignore. Segments featuring Caitlin Clark soared, engagement exploding across every platform, clips being shared relentlessly, while regular games remained flat, silent, and unremarkable. That stark contrast stung because it exposed an uncomfortable truth. She wasn't riding the league's popularity, the league was riding hers, and in reverse. Dangerous. Even veteran players noticed. Years of grinding, empty arenas, and low pay suddenly felt overshadowed as one rookie captured more national attention in a single 2-hour broadcast than many had in a decade. It didn't feel inspiring, it felt threatening. Whispers began circulating through locker rooms and offices, a subtle but unmistakable tension building as everyone realized the rules of the game and of fame were quietly, irrevocably shifting. Attempts were made to downplay it. They called it hype. They insisted it was just noise. But deep down, everyone knew it wasn't hype. It was gravity. Every angle, every spotlight, every camera, every media outlet, every fan, every network seemed to be pulled inexorably toward her. You can't fight gravity. Then the critical meeting happened. Doors closed, lights dimmed, and the tension was thick in the air. Cathy Engelbert sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable. No smiles, no small talk, only numbers flashing on screens. Clark was everywhere, trending everywhere, completely outside their control. And finally, someone broke the silence, the words hanging in the room like a warning no one could ignore. Everyone acknowledged what they had feared but refused to admit. She had taken over.
I think we're going to see anything too different in that regard, because it's just the way things are in this league, and at least the people outside the league aren't being into like stupidly dumb like they used to be. Like, people in the media were scared to be pro Caitlin Clark 2 years ago, because you were deemed as being problematic if you didn't think Caitlin Clark would actually, in fact, shouldn't have been the number one overall pick, and all of this stuff. Like, if you weren't 100% anti Caitlin Clark, there was something wrong with you. At least the general media aren't necessarily like that anymore. The WNBA media absolutely are. Like, we've still, the phrase "the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark" is one that was used by commentators. Like, to be fair, at least no one's going full Cheryl Swoops. The fact Elle Duncan apologizing to Cheryl Swoops is still one of the craziest things. So basically, Elle Duncan said that Cheryl Swoops said Katie Lou Samuelson was more important to the Fever than Caitlin Clark. And that's what Elle Duncan reported that Cheryl Swoops said. Cheryl Swoops did not say that. Cheryl Swoops, in fact, said that implied that Katie Lou Samuelson and
the thought finally hits. What if she doesn't need the league anymore? Silence blankets the room, because that single sentence changes everything. If she no longer needs them, the league loses all leverage. Contracts carry less weight, rules feel irrelevant, power shifts, and once power shifts, it rarely, if ever, returns. That's the real nightmare. Not her popularity, not her fame, but her independence. Independent stars don't ask permission. They choose their networks, they choose their platforms, they choose their deals. Suddenly, the league isn't leading, they're chasing. By the end of that week, one undeniable truth emerges, impossible to ignore. The game, the broadcast, the attention, even the narrative itself no longer revolves around the league. It revolves around her. Looking ahead to the next NBA season, it's clear that mega superstars will still land commercials and endless opportunities, but Caitlin Clark's trajectory feels different. She would have benefited from an aggressive, battle-ready agent, someone who truly goes to war for their clients. That kind of partnership could have accelerated opportunities, ensured maximum leverage, and fully capitalized on her unprecedented early momentum. The Nike deal raises questions. How did it happen the way it did? Maybe she signed too early, but regardless, it underscores just how much potential there was to amplify her position. This was never just a debut. It wasn't a simple segment or a cute crossover. This was the defining moment when Caitlin Clark stepped onto a far bigger stage and never looked back, commanding attention with a calm authority that made it seem effortless, as if she had been ready for this exact moment her entire life. While the league scrambled to keep up, that's the part that terrifies. When someone makes history appear effortless, the system itself begins to crumble. You can't shrink someone the world has just made bigger, more influential, more unstoppable, and undeniably impossible to control. No one can ever put that kind of spotlight back into a box. You can't tell fans to look away or force them to follow the script anymore. Once they choose a star, they will follow that star anywhere, across platforms, networks, and stages.
Is saying she's confident a CBA will get done. Then there were some other topics hit up on the broadcast as well, including her wanting to play at Madison Square Garden. You know, that is where she was broadcasting from, the Knicks and the Lakers. It is a great arena. Spent a lot of time in the Garden.
Lakers and the Knicks taking center stage here for the 302nd overall meeting. And for the first time ever, we've got basketball night in America, the first Sunday in February. And we're joined by our special correspondent. Welcome to the team, Caitlin Clark. Yeah.
MSG for a Knicks game, so it's pretty cool.
I know, it's our first Knicks game, first time feeling the atmosphere. We got to get you to play on this court one day.
We have to talk to Matt Adam about that.
Can we make it mellow? Honestly, if there's someone
even if it's a preseason game, we got to get it done. I don't think the Liberty will want to move a game over here, but we'll play anybody.
Yeah. How could you describe maybe the atmosphere your first time in it?
I think as a player, like, this is kind of when you feel the atmosphere the most, is when you're out on the court warming up. So, I mean, there's just a different type of buzz. And obviously when LeBron comes to town, it's probably really different. But, you know, Knicks fans are crazy and I love it. I love people who are passionate about basketball. So it's pretty incredible.
So, you know, Caitlin Clark saying she wants a Fever game at Madison Square Garden. That would be nice, right? That would be an event. But I think Fever fans just want to see Caitlin Clark in a game, period.
The real question isn't what just happened, it's what happens next. If that was only night one, nobody inside those offices, no executive, no strategist, is remotely prepared for night two, the next performance, the next moment when the rookie turns the world upside down again, rewriting every expectation and leaving control permanently out of reach. And that's the part nobody inside the league wants to admit. They're not scared of losing games, disappointing fans, or even seeing another season slip by unnoticed. What they terrify of is losing her, Caitlin Clark, the unstoppable force who isn't just playing basketball. She's rewriting the rules, reshaping narratives, and pulling the attention of the entire sports world toward herself. If she continues to pull ahead with unmatched skill, poise, and charisma, blazing her own path while everyone else scrambles to keep up, the league may never regain control, no matter how many regulations they impose, marketing campaigns they launch, or carefully orchestrated media strategies they attempt. When the face of your future stops waiting, stops adhering to your timelines, and refuses to play by any one system but her own, that's when the chilling truth hits. You don't control the story anymore. Every camera angle, every broadcast, every trending clip, every fan reaction, every viral post, it all bends toward her. Gravity, influence, power, and attention shift in ways no one expected. It's thrilling, overwhelming, and frightening all at once, like watching history unfold live in front of you, unstoppable and unapologetic. And for everyone witnessing this monumental moment, don't just observe,